enjoyed all that wealth can give, and I am satisfied that much is vanity, if not vexation of spirit. I think I'm better off on the whole. I believe the shock of the discovery is past and over. I am as if I had removed from my shoulders a great mass of garment, rich indeed, yet cumbrous and always more a burden than a comfort. What a life mine has been, almost wholly neglected or left to myself, stuffing my head with most nonsensical trash, being undervalued in society for a time by most of my companions, then being held forward a bold and clever fellow, contrary to the opinion of all those who thought me a mere dreamer.
You got it right.
My heart broken twice, yet handsomely pieced again, but the crack will remain till my dying day. Rich and poor 4 or 5 times, once on the verge of ruin, yet opened new sources of wealth almost overflowing. Now, taken in my pitch of pride and nearly winged, grief makes me its housekeeper, and to labor is my only resource. Never did a being hate task work as I have hated it from my infancy up. Not that I'm idle in my nature either, but propose me to do one thing, and it's inconceivable the desire I have to do something else, not because it's easier or more pleasant, but simply because it's escaping an imposed task. I have walked the domains I have planted. I have sate the halls I have built. For the last time, I find my eyes moistening. But that will not do. I will not give in without a fight for it. In prosperous times, I have felt my powers of language flag, but adversity is to me at least a tonic and a bracer, a fountain awakened from its inmost recess, as if the spirit of affliction had troubled in my passage. What a tale of the alphabet I should draw after me.
One of the gifts I would have would be,
That was actually Sir Walter Scott. I actually was his persona.
No, I understand. You captured the essence of it. I was just trying to place it, and I was trying to, date it with the reference towards cognition fixation.
That's Sir Walter Scott having a drink at a men's club. In the later years of his success, just before he's about to die. And they've been kicking it around about his success in the men's club, and that's his explanation of his life and his writings.
Does Raleigh have anything to do with this?
No, I had something to do with it because I internalized the material from autobiography and multiple biographies, and then put the piece together and went, okay, this is how this goes.
What we're going to do is get a group picture. I figure you have your pipe, I have mine, he has his stick, and between the 3 of us, we can salute the man. Story of life quicker than a wink of an eye. You do is you bite it off. Bite off both sides. And we got a family watching this. A couple of families, I guess, but kicking out everybody from getting in. This is great. Yeah. Is this like a tourist trap or some shit? I guess so.
Well, a lot of people come up to take a look at it, but
Yeah, they're coming. That's nice. So I guess the best we can do is just leave it with these. You look the part, brother. You look the part. Tell you, let's get the group photo and we can do the damn interview. Or we can just sit in the lawn.
plus we got this beautiful white rose.
That's kind of somebody. It's plastic. It doesn't matter.
No, it's real. That's,
No,
yeah, it is.
trust me.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
It's
it's synthetic.
plastic. Well, it's looking very good
Hello.
for a synthetic rose. Where could we best
Didn't
put
they
it?
put it right there?
No, they had it down there. It was probably withering in the
In the sun a bit?
sun. Put it right up
We're
there.
doing very well. Are we spooking you here?
No.
We're just saying hi to an old friend.
Yeah. In years, huh?
Yeah, we were just talking about it on the drive up here. Well, we're from the neighborhood,
Yeah.
so it's been like 30 and 40 years since we've been in the neighborhood.
Okay.
I grew up on 144th, just up
And I grew
the
up
up
on
the way
Red
up
Lake
there.
Outlet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. Hayes in high school. Hey, I don't even look.
I didn't have to go there. I went to
On
Renton.
your way to
Oh, good. We're just taking a look.
haven't been here in years.
And oh, look at this. He's got pics. Do we have any pics with us?
I got my pick, but I'm
I
not
better
giving it
take
up.
in my wallet.
I mean, well, I got one maybe that I could give up. I just found it the other day.
My dad always pissed me off because he lost my Eddie Van Halen pick. But my son, DeJay got a Paul Stanley pick out of the Kiss
Oh,
concert.
no, wait a minute. Here's one that.
Oh, you got a pocket full, and you should though.
Wait a minute now.
That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Way up there. Well, you're gonna have to get a shot from that from the distance, but right now we need a group shot, gentlemen. I keep forgetting to do this. Get out the cell, buddy. Let's do this. You are rolling.
Interview release. I, Random X Rhodes, hereby consent to the audio as well as video recording, photographing, and use in perpetuity in all and any collective likeness in connection with the production, advertisement, distribution, overall exploitation, and any other use in connection with the documentary film tentatively entitled We're on a Mission from God. I agree that James Edwin Cummins III, COBA, and each of their respective divisions, parent corporations, subsidiaries, and affiliated companies and licenses, the releasees, may use or refrain from using all or any part of my likeness and may synchronize with other images and or sounds and reproduce, alter or modify it in any way, regardless of whether I am recognizable or unrecognizable. I release the releasees and their affiliates, agents, employees, and licensees from any liability arising out of the use of my likeness, including liability from any of the releasees and or their affiliates, agents, employees, and or licensees as a consequence of their recording and or use of my likeness, including without limitation, any claim that such use invades my privacy and my right to privacy and or publicity. I understand that this release does not obligate the releasees to use my likeness in any way or form whatsoever, and I further understand I am entitled to absolutely no compensation whatsoever for anything whatsoever with respect to the releasees' perpetual use of my likeness. Anti-defamation clause, releasees and I mutually agree not to intentionally defame or otherwise disparage the other with respect to matters arising from this consent form. I understand that my likeness is being recorded in reliance of this consent. I have signed this consent, whatever the date is, etc.
Well, we're going to change it to the 19th, 2019.
You're going to have to put that in there. You didn't write that in.
And the second page is the same thing. So we just
I got
two
it.
So
copies.
what is your copy and what's mine? That's all. Or his.
All right, let me sit down over here where I can see it. Oh, fuck, man.
There. Where it says I blank.
Oh, do I have? Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Random X Rhodes is your legal name.
Well, he's allowed to use an alias anytime he wants. Anybody can.
Yep. And I actually don't use my name to defraud anybody. If you look me up on YouTube, I heard lately that I've made my own legacy on YouTube. And then beyond that, I heard that they're actually selling posters of me down in the Pike Place Market,
They should.
labeled a Pike Place Market icon. And I'm like, huh, that's interesting. Nobody told me. Nobody gave me any money.
I remember when you went off and they kicked you out of the market for it, and I agreed with you. If you're going to sit there and take a fucking picture of me, at least you could do cough me up $1. I'm down here giving myself for you and I'm
They
playing.
kicked me out saying I was throwing chicken at the security guards and spitting on them.
And I do remember the day. I wasn't there the day, but I remember when it right after it happened.
And it was totally horse shit, bullshit. And I signed my name just to stop from going to jail and said, this 1 year you're kicking me out.
Just so you know, all you did was add the date.
Oh, yeah. Is that it just cost you all of it.
Let him in there.
I won't go back and play. I won't go back and play.
If you want to sit down, we can record you sitting down, dude. However you want. Whatever's more comfortable. What's more comfortable for you?
I'm right here on your fucking stick, Drew. There you go. Bam. All right. So I put it in my pocket, I guess.
I can actually see this a little better this time. You ready?
I am.
For this project, you're going by the name of Random Roads, Random X Roads.
That's correct. Random X Roads.
Please tell us some cool things about Washington State.
Washington State. Well, the coolest thing, it's the nicest state of all of the 50 states. You got nothing but green trees and green grass and clean air most of the time. Traffic flows along like traffic does on occasion. Washington. You got mountains, you got the ocean.
What's the highest level of education you completed?
Oh, jeez. Well, if I had 5 years at the university, I wonder how much that is.
What was your major?
Music theory and composition.
So what is your occupation and or occupations, or what were they?
Well, I'm a bit of a mediator, a musician, and a creative artist.
Bear with me as I scroll here a little bit. Gotta find the damn thing.
Speaking of bears, that reminds me of high-grade cannabis.
Okay, this is
But
not,
go ahead.
This is not a puff piece. So we're about to get some harder questions, more adult-oriented questions
Thank goodness.
regarding sex and drugs for starters. Growing up,
Yes.
you witnessed some good people take bad paths and transform into unrecognizable addicts over the years. Is that true?
Not really. I was raised out in the country, out in Renton, Washington, and we didn't have any drug addicts. And my mom showed me an alcoholic once laying under our fir tree out in the front yard. She beat him with a broom and made him go away.
Okay, sometimes those who used to be friends, once they turned into a fiend, would show their true colors by stealing from you.
You allow people to steal from you?
No, I don't.
Oh, I don't either.
What I'm saying is
So-
that people that used to be friends, once they became dope fiends, they would actually have the gall to steal something.
Well,
Not from you, okay?
I would imagine that's how my whole mother lode got boosted. But yeah, I guess we'll have to give some credibility to that statement.
You've been a street guy a long time.
Yes, I have.
Now you're not necessarily living on the street. What was the one event, the catalyst, that got you from literally living on the streets to living how you are now?
Oh, my own vices. Poor decision making.
You'd rather be on the streets than it was a poor decision to get off the street.
Well, actually, now that I've been out here for 15 years, I got to admit, Regrets are not something that I live with every day. I'm just saying. It's been a kick.
Name a couple of people from the Seattle area who were specifically there for you, helped you out at some point. Kind of give them a kudos, give them a shout out real quick. Tell us what they did for you to earn that too.
I'm not allowed to give up names.
Give an example of something that blank Joe Coffee did that really made you happy.
Well, I know this one guy and his old lady gave me this van that I'm still living in. I mean, I could go over that, but really, I mean, that's awkward. I mean, under the situation and whatnot. And, you know, other people, I have so many people helping me out
There's too many
almost
names.
on a daily basis. People standing by. I'm in moments of crisis, and somehow what is appeared to be my own little community comes together and goes boom and makes something really difficult seem easy.
We're going to go on to sex now. When it comes to prostitution, isn't it true that prostitutions aren't just a heterosexual situation? That many are situations of men preying on young boys, as are there women preying on young girls?
I would have to speculate on that and say that that is more than likely true.
Another person we interviewed talked candidly about judges throughout the Puget Sound area that were, should say, customers, if you will. Basically, they were busted pedophiles over the years. They were, you know, taking the kids and they got busted for it. Do you know of any such situations?
No, I haven't looked into anything like that.
Is it fair to say that the majority of the prostitutes on the streets, not in the phone book, but on the streets, are minors or juveniles?
I really haven't been paying any attention to them, so I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about pimps for a second. What about the pimps of those underage minor prostitutes? Are they not guilty of exploiting minors for immoral purposes as well as no less than enabling pedophiles and even engaging in child slavery?
I'd have to go with yes on that.
Apparently there's a study that says that street people, street kids, have seen more hand-to-hand combat than most actual military veterans. As a military veteran who was there for Vietnam, what is your opinion?
Well, now that I'm 69 years old, I'd say the last couple of years have been way more fun than anything I've done up to this point.
So would you say they see more hand-to-hand combat?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
What should happen to pimps and other pedophiles for their involvement in child prostitution, hence the buying and selling of children into sexual slavery?
Well, nobody's elected me as judge, so I'm not going to go into that.
It is said that there are some kids that no one will ever get off the street. What would you do to get those kids off the street?
I would look at motivation. I'd look at the definition of freedom. I would look at the idea of trying to force somebody to do something that maybe they just don't want to do. So while we may go, wow, we want to help this person, and we will not allow them to exist like this in the manner that they're choosing, we're going to make a change, and the individual may not be interested in a change.
Pretty presumptive, isn't it?
It is.
It's like when we go over the res and we go, here's some money from the res, and I do what we want you to do.
If this was merely about assessing needs of the homeless community, and I guess it would be virtually enabling them to lead a higher quality life as homeless people, as opposed to we're going to end homelessness. I believe it's never happened in the history of the world. I remember maybe Elizabeth Barrett Browning producing poetry, talking about England, probably London, and saying something about how you would treat your dog better than you'd treat that poor beggar that's walking in the snow out in the cold on the street under the street lamp.
You're the second one to make that reference during these interviews. You're the second one to make that reference.
Well, so that's where this all is.
I've got one more question about drugs or sex. We've got to move on. Believe me, that's cool. I'm going to be able to clip that in. Do you believe that if prostitution was strictly regular, follow this, and there was an aggressive increase in going after the pimps and the pedophiles, as well as going after the juvenile prostitutes themselves, there would be a noticeable decrease in the population of street gangs?
Hadn't really thought about that one. That's an interesting way of looking at it, almost a bit convoluted, but I see your point.
You didn't read it verbatim, brother.
Okay, from a vet standpoint, and I, have other friends that are of the same opinion. If you go to one of these feeds around here and you look at the proportion of the numbers of men who are sitting here versus the number of women. And actually, I've been having conversations with a heroin addict female, and I get it straight off the top about this thing called dope dick. See, this is the dick that she works towards the end of the month when she's run her course oh so much, still needs to be well, so she's going to suck the dealer's dick. She calls it dope dick. All right. So now I'll sit with the woman and be sitting in my car, and we'll look over on the hill there, and you see, and there's 20 guys in a line over here. Well, I'm gonna run down to the store and I'm gonna do this. So she'll jump out and go down the street. On the return, within 2 blocks, I got propositioned 30 times. Oh, do tell, 30 times. Now you're going to sit there and drink your soda pop and look out the window and see this line of 20 guys sitting over here, just homeless people, the edge of the park, and make a comment, yeah, well, they can just all go in the woods and masturbate. And you go, wow, just go in the woods and masturbate. I'm going to turn to her because I'm a fair guy and go, the only thing that makes a difference between them and me is I have a van to go to masturbate in. Okay? Did you catch that?
I did, actually.
So what I'm getting out of it is the dope man is getting the sex and he's paying wholesale. And anybody outside the loop that uses one of these prostitutes is paying retail for what the dope man's getting wholesale. You get it, guys? And apparently the women have put a premium on it, and you should consider yourself to be irrelevant.
We've just talked about the sex slave trade. Let's talk about drugs.
All right, I love talking about drugs.
All of us know people who have done drugs or do drugs. We have witnessed how particular drugs affect people in different ways, and otherwise know enough about drugs to have formed an opinion about them. So I'm going to name some drug types to you, and I want you to explain what you believe that particular drug does, or each drug does. The first one is amphetamines, including MDA, MDMA, and just plain old methamphetamine.
Well, now let me see. I've seen some rather bizarre behavior exhibited by people that have smoked meth. But then I've seen bizarre behavior by people that were smoking crack cocaine. So I think it has, first of all, a dependency on how much you're consuming. I mean, apparently there must be that amount that causes you to just go over the edge and lose all inhibition and any thought of anything being real. But if it comes down to, oh, let me pick these bugs out of my skin. I can feel them crawling. Can you see that? They're crawling in my skin. Wait. Oh, I think I'll put a bunch of marks all over my body and just got this whole thing. Oh, man, I'm feeling itchy now. Oh, whoa. I don't know, man. Oh, wait. You guys are going to cut this, right? Yeah. Good.
No, we're
Yeah.
The only person that's allowed to do any defamation of you is you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. What else do you have for me?
What is the difference between Adderall and amphetamine?
One's prescribed by a doctor, maybe. Weren't amphetamines once upon a time prescribed by doctors? I don't know. Seems like all of this stuff originated with pharma.
Okay.
And everything else is a spin-off of a replication of what was created by licenses through the federal government.
What is the difference between Ritalin and amphetamine?
I have no idea. I don't do either
I'm asking
one.
the
I'm
questions
just
like we
saying.
talked
I'm
before.
just saying. I
If you
have no
don't know, you say
friggin' idea. I'm just, you know me. I've been as green as the day is long for as long as there is a green day. Oh, by the way, did I mention in the beginning there was cannabis?
you did now.
And in every single person who's alive, there's an endocannabinoid system. And most sensible animals that live in the wilds and are vegetarian, they'll eat your cannabis plants. They don't need to go to a university to understand that in its raw form, it's non-psychoactive. It's a whole protein. It contains 9 essential amino acids that your own body cannot produce. And it's chock full of fatty omega-3s and 6s. Now, with such a small recommendation,
We're actually not going to be going into cannabis in this.
well, that's good.
No, we'll touch on what you just
I mean,
said.
yeah.
I've got one more along the other lines that we were just
God,
talking
I should have brought up cannabis during the whole prostitution part then. Damn it.
about. Okay, you're going to have a chance to throw in, address me on this. What is the difference between disoxins and methamphetamine?
The different, what?
Disoxins and methamphetamine.
I don't even study that shit. I only study cannabis.
Right, now let us go forward.
I mean, come on.
So beyond rotting a user's teeth, causing them to pick their skin until they have scabs all over their bodies,
I've seen that.
as they chase crank bugs, what is known as crank bugs, and all the internal damage the use of amphetamine-based drugs cause, what would using such a drug do to a young person, say a teenager?
No idea, man. I don't even fuck around with that shit. It's against the law.
So what would using amphetamine-based drug do to a kindergarten?
Probably kill it.
Would you say that drugs that
I've
have-
raised 2 children, you know that. This is not even a happening reality here.
Would you say that drugs that happen to contain amphetamine are addictive?
Contain it, probably. Did
If,
you say foods?
Amphetamine.
Foods that contain it?
Anything that contains amphetamine.
Oh, yeah.
Drugs is what it says.
Oh. Oh, drugs that contain amphetamines. Yeah, okay.
Okay, if a young person, especially a child, was to simply eat a single hit of amphetamine, how long do you think it would take before the effects started to kick in on that kid?
I haven't got a clue.
It's okay. We're gonna fly through this then. I have to ask you the question, but we're going to fly through it. I don't have a clue. I don't know. That's fine. Good. That allows me to get to where I want to get anyways with you. Helen, what do you think it would take for that kid to burn out once he took it?
You know, I could guess, but I haven't got a clue, man. I don't have experiential knowledge of this stuff.
I want the viewer to understand something about my friend Random here. He was brought up an excellent musician. He was brought up here in the Renton Highlands, where we stand is literally where my house used to be. That's why I'm in shock here. But Random was military. He's from old school in the 50s and early 60s. And we'll get to that in a moment. The GI Bill, we'll get to that in a second. I'm skipping all over the bad acid trips. I'm skipping over the heroin use because it doesn't.
Never such a thing as a bad acid trip. I've never had a bad acid trip.
What would you describe a good acid trip like?
Oh, the Love Street Light Circus down in Houston, Texas, about 1968 maybe. You know, a couple of good bands playing. Fat Emma, Bubble Puppy, and Up the Sidewalk. A lot of oscillating patterns on the wall with paisleys and, you know, I mean, a slanted floor to lay down on and just kind of like kick back. And of course, well, Texas, you weren't allowed to smoke any weed or anything. So, you know, you really just had to chill.
Have you ever watched the movie Steven Spielberg's a mega hit called AI, Artificial Intelligence? No? Okay. In Artificial Intelligence, there's a place that amounts to adults only town. You have to cross a bridge, and as you cross it, the thing holding it up, the arches, are a pair of women's legs in fishnet stockings. And you have to drive through her crotch to get into town. Ah, look at the smile. If there were towns like that, where it's adults only, do you think that would help decrease the street in illegal prostitution? In other words, if you go to that town, you can get anything you want. Anything. You want prostitution? Fine. You want leaves of cocaine in your soda? Knock yourself down. You want some ephedra with your tea? Well, you have all the ephedra tea you want. You know, greens? Greens are everywhere. So are purples and browns, etc. You get the idea. So do you think that that would help decrease the street population of prostitutes? Juvenile prostitutes. Yes, I asked it the convoluted way. It was really only one sentence.
Well, there seems to be an order about the money. Why are you going to be on the street as a child or as a youth, let alone being a prostitute? So now we get back to the money. And well, where's the money going? Well, if this case over here has mom and dad shooting up all the time and there ain't no money for the kid, then the money, you know, or it's an abusive situation, however, the kid ends up on the street, it is a meat market from this perspective of if it's a male, you got the hawk looking, what do they call them, chicken hawks or something, looking for the young boys. And which, by the way, I find interesting in my research. The individual that smeared me that you posted, I won't mention his name, but apparently after doing a walkthrough up on Capitol Hill, we identify a vehicle and an individual that seems to be that individual driving up and down, I don't know, Third Avenue or something, or 4th Avenue and 1st Avenue, and he has the come on of, he has the bag of goodies of every different kind.
I'm listening to
And he just stops here and parties here and hands out little treats here, and he goes here and parties out here and hands out little treats here. But the word is, but if he offers you money, you're the chosen one for the romp, the venture, whatever.
What advances and declines do you see the human species making over the 21st century?
Advancements and declines. Well, we've advanced ourselves nicely into debt.
It's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? I want to leave it just right there. We've advanced ourselves into debt. It's one of those stone cold booms. I got it. I know you got it too. Okay. What do you see yourself achieving, and where do you see yourself being over the next 5 to 10 years?
I'd like to see myself remain in the state of zero limitations. In 5 or 10 years, I should like it to remain that way.
You're pretty content. As you should be. I don't want to say as for your age, because I think you should be content all the time. I'd be quite pissed off that I wasn't content for the last 30 years.
Oh, I'm not content by any stretch of the imagination. I'm purely angry. I'm enraged.
And we're about to hit on that rage. I'm going to get ready to go off the script. I have a couple more questions for you, and then we're going to go totally off script. Okay? First one is, our Lord's Prayer says to make it on earth as it is in heaven. If you were king of the world, what would you do to make it on earth as it is in heaven?
I would allow everybody on the face of the earth to grow cannabis freely. I would encourage them to do so. I would ask them to consider what I already said about the plant itself being a whole protein with 9 essential amino acids that your body doesn't make, with the fatty omega-3s and the 6s, all of that. But then beyond that, if nobody's considering, and this is the trick here, bro. Every day for the last 8 years, Fukushima has been spewing 300 tons of toxic radioactive material into the ocean. 5 years ago, they were touting about the fact that the whole Pacific Ocean was ruined. And then it got down to just a couple of years ago, and the whole Pacific and part of whatever it's connected to. And now here it is 2019, and I'm happy to say that the beaches down at Golden Gardens are closed these days. Let me tell you how close it was. I had a loose toenail, and so I took my knife, and because I'm a field sergeant, I got down there and I gnawed. Whoa, man, it reminded me of the hospital by the time I got done, because I accidentally sliced the top of my toe off while I was getting that toenail off, but it was so slick that when I looked down at the blood smear that was the end of my toe, I said to myself out loud, I could have gone to a doctor for this. And then I proceeded to put a bandage on it, and so the next day I'm with a friend, and they took me down to Golden Gardens, brought a chair out. I'm being treated like royalty. Oh, Mr. President, come over here, sit down. Here, we're going to put the chair in the water. We want you to take your shoe off, put your foot in the water, and sit here. It'll be the best thing for that toe. I'm like,
Not that water.
I'm not in a good mood. No, I'm not in a good mood, and I don't like the way the water's moving. So I walked away, and they pulled the chair out of the water, and they walked away. And a while later, they were up on the sand, and I walked down I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was in a bad mood. I thought, I'll just walk down here to the water's edge. And I was standing there at the water's edge, and I started yelling at the water and at the sound, because I was really angry, and I thought this is a good place to let it out. And just let it go out there across the water. It won't bother anybody. And I looked down and I saw the white edges of the froth of the waves as they lapped upon the sand just before my feet. and then my eyes went about 10 inches out, and a belt of seaweed stretched out about another 15 inches or so, and then the water. And there was something that hit me, just made me go off like I wouldn't even believe. I don't know what made me so pissed off. And in my mind, I was imagining this huge creature with a gigantic vacuum cleaner coming from my right, coming down the edge of the beach and vacuuming all of that garbage up and getting it out of my sight. So now, the next day, I got a bicycle and I took it out for a ride about 1 o'clock in the morning. We rode down to Golden Gardens, 2.2 miles, my first time out in 6 years. But dang, we get down here, there's the sign, posted. Nice white and red sign. This is like closed waters, and here's the circumstances. And I'm like, ew, and you wanted me to put my foot in. And that's only because they had a sewage spill, according to them. But what I'm getting out of it is they better start like using a Geiger counter on the fish that comes in. And I don't know if you heard about the ship that came into Bremerton here recently, and they did the remake on the hull, and the paint they chipped off was radioactive.
It's yours. Oh, I promised Billy I was going to do this with you.
As usual, the ground is uneven. One of the biggest problems we have amongst all of this is hanging on to our preconceived notions and the prejudices that we were raised with, handed down to us through our parents, our grandparents, through the kids that we went to school with all the rumors and innuendos of the side talk that goes on through life. And we have a real difficult time wiping that all out of our consciousness and experiencing zero limitations. Imagine the moment before the universe was created. The universe took a look in the mirror and it saw absolutely nothing. And at that moment in time, it experienced zero limitations. It realized at that moment that anything and everything would become possible. And it is. But we get so trained by society to follow the tracks, the traces that have been laid down by others, and discouraged from thinking for ourselves and setting aside those petty grievances and getting back to that state of zero limitation where we're able to let go and just say, I love you, please forgive me, pardon me, but this is the way it is. Continue to cause perfection. Keep up the good work. The praise aspect has gone out of life. We want to look down our noses at people and say, oh, that person is doing the wrong thing. Even if it's the smallest thing. And I learned this from putting the presidency together. Early on, I'm walking down the street and I'm just feeling the flow of it. And I thought, now I'm going to do this thing called unique up on a person. I'm on my way to a Santa can at 2 o'clock in the morning. I need to take a leak. And there's a crackhead and he's bent over the Santa can and his butt crack showing because he doesn't have a belt. Oh, I was just showing you my butt, man. Come on.
You're out of camera.
I can't get it up there high enough. Anyway, and he's bent over and he's got both of his hands and his upper torso and his head in the garbage can. And finally he emerges and he's got 2 cups. And he takes the lid off of one and the lid off the other, and he pours the contents into the cup, and then he reaches down and he feels around and he finds another cup, and he takes the lid off that and pours the content into this cup until he has almost a full cup of coffee. Now I'm going to be walking by behind him, and I'm not going to slow my pace, but I'm just going to be at my normal average pace, and I'm going to go by him and go, "Keep up the good work, Mr. President." I might like. Now, let's say that this happens 5 times, and then one time he's not in the garbage can, but he's totally coked out, and he's leaned up against the wall. He can barely stand. He'd like to go somewhere to sit down, but if he gets away from the wall, he's going to fall down. And I walk by him in my normal brisk pace, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I go, "Good evening, Mr. President." And all of a sudden, the guy twitches. Oh, whoa. Now he's standing up straight. Now we'll go to the next occasion, and it's, "Well, why do you keep calling me Mr. President?" Funny that you should ask. Now I'm going to take the time to explain to you why I call you Mr. President, and after we shake hands on the deal, you're Mr. President. Have a nice night.
I'm going to throw something that's going to make you mad. Take you off the subject. Group homes. This is one of the subjects we're on. Going to foster care for the first time. I know your story. If you want to share it, share it.
I just made a post just the other day in response to somebody putting something up about
Don't worry, I'm cutting myself.
name the happiest. Go back to your early childhood and describe a happy moment in your life. And I went, "Oh, that's easy." So I was on this farm way out in the country, and I was 4 years old, running away for the first time. And it was a long, winding road through the tall pines and fir trees. And there was a moon shining in the sky, and there was low-lying fog. And what made me happy was I had enough sense to be able to dive into the ditch and lay in the bottom of the V ditch, or even scramble up on the other side and get in the bushes whenever I heard an automobile coming by.
We used to do that over there, that field we used to call snipe hunting. And yeah, we would dodge vehicles. We'd dive over this hill right here. Become the headlights.
Like, early memories. Oh yeah, I remember when I had a good time.
Okay. And that's it, brother.
All right,
We're out of here.
tag.
Okay. Gotta get the mic off. How much time do we have on that card? What's she gonna do, my cousin? He's not gonna be as kindly responsive. There's still an hour left on the first card.
And catch my spot.
Right there at the stick. Scoot over a little bit. That's okay. He'll adjust the camera this time.
Well, good. Let me just find it. See, there's just a little bulge right
I know
there.
you mean it, but
So let me move the stick. How's that? And I'll just stand in that same fucking space as I. Here's the deal. I can stand evenly right here. Here's one for you. The new Colossus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame with conquering arms astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed, sun-baked gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of all exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your hungry, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Send these, no, the wretched refuse of your teeming shores. Send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed, to me. I raise my lamp beside the golden door. Bam. Fuck that little piece up right there.
I fucked it up.
I did. I fucked up just that one little line because I forgot to throw, I had to go back and scratch it.